Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you, as always, with our wonderful community. Interesting topic, sad topic of sort. I'm going to be addressing the recent attacks on the Houthis by the United States. I almost feel like saying, "Hey, pick someone on your side. Pick someone your size." So instead of it's sad. So as one who spent time in Yemen, and I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of history and geography, but the key thing that I'm going to focus on is the analysis as to why the US decided to do it now. So this is what I'm going to be getting into. Before I do this, I always like to say hi to our wonderful community. Lori, let me sound this here, so this way the computer will make sounds. Lori Edeburn, good to see you. Once again, Brent Browns, good to see you. You're right, the terrain in Yemen is not favorable for US, so sending foot soldiers will be that's correct. I was there, and I kind of, it's a rugged terrain, it's certainly. UTUZ, super, good to see you. Indeed, 100K subscribers. So we crossed that milestone, and I'm going to talk about it soon. So MYTA account, good to see you. Hanging G, good to see you. Congratulations, Dr. Oualaalou. Geopolitical Trend has 100,000 subscribers today. A key milestone in social media. Thank you, Dr. Oualaalou. You are a good host. My sincere appreciation to you, Hanging G. So. Jingor Patima, good to see you. You deserve 1 million subscriber in due time. In due time. I focus mainly, guys, on the quality of the information because I want you to literally, when you leave with something. You learn something from this. Amanda, congrats on hitting 100K. Thank you so much, Amanda, for your kind support and kind words. So, Truth Seeker, wow, 100K subscriber, congrats. Your critical thinking, your insights helps us think outside of the box. No matter how much the media propagandized, lies, and demonized China, the truth will prevail. Indeed, the truth will prevail as always. Willie Holman, good to see you. Congrats on your milestone. Well, it's not just mine, it's ours. It's the community, guys. Tom Saya, good to see you as always, Wires. Congrats on your 100K. Hairless Apes, good to see you from BC, Canada, British Columbia, that is. 100K, so good to see you. Fred Ball, good to see you as always. And let me see, Ramples01, good to see you. Poseidon, I haven't seen you for a while, Poseidon. I hope all is well. So good to see you. Famida, good to see you as well. Shelley, good to see you. Peng Yu, an avid supporter of the channel. Good to see you. AF Gold, Carleon, where are you? Right here. Yeah, good to see you. Salam, Alek Anta. Maria Zil, good to see you. Musa Saad, good to see you. All right, guys, let me Chad Franklin. Here we go. Thomas Rod from Morocco, good to see you. Ramples01, as always, and Jimmy, New York City 2000. Good to see you as always. Julius here. And I know why Jimmy put that name, Julius, there. So who else? Shelly, good to see you. Bosco, good to see you. All right, guys, let's get into our key topic. But before I'll do this, as I said, I have some housekeeping stuff. Yeah, we crossed the mile for 100K subscribers. So now this is not about me. This is about us. It's the community. Because without your support, there will be no channel to begin with. So if I didn't receive the support from you, I won't be doing what I'm doing. I'll be honest with you, straightforward. But you guys were there from the beginning, so I am very grateful. So this is for you as well, not just me. So yeah, 1 million subscribers down the road, maybe not. At this point, we focus on the content that is. So another thing I want to mention to you guys about while I'm talking about housekeeping stuff here. So I had a survey that I posted for you guys because I need you to share your input regarding what's going on. So, and the survey was about, do you believe the US will send in ground troops to Yemen? So 73% of you said no, 19% say yes, and 7% say I don't know. So and yeah, I can see the rationale for that answer as to why 73% of you said no, because it's a rugged terrain. So that's usually how it is. So, and the last thing I want to share with you is regarding my live stream yesterday with Professor Anna Malendog regarding the the illegal detention of the former president of Philippines, Marcos. I'm sorry. Is Duterte, Rodrigo Duterte. I mean, Marcos should be also impeached, if I may use the term. So for those who have not watched the video, here is the link. I'm going to put it in the chat box for you. You guys can check it out later on. So, because we have a lot to cover. And I'm going to do one thing for you guys today, because today we're celebrating. So I'm going to answer some questions at the end. So prepare a few questions and I'm going to answer them for you. So let's start with like we always do, guys. We do the headlines because I need you to be aware. Again, to me, it's informative. That's what this channel is all about. So the first thing I want to share with you, it has to do with the upcoming of a phone call next week. That's going to be between the Russian president and Donald Trump. It's going to be next week. So, and this is why a lot of people will be expecting. But here is where I disagree with the Western, especially the White House press release regarding this particular topic. It stated, and I quote here, that Washington pressures Moscow to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine to end the three-year war. I don't think so. We are not in a position to pressure Russia because this war is going to end on Russia's terms. It's no-brainer, guys. You look at now the 75,000 soldiers in Kursk. That this is why Donald Trump asked the Russian president to spare the life of these Ukrainian soldiers. So Russians are moving forward. But for the U.S. to say, well, we're going to pressure Russia into ceasefire, I don't think so. It doesn't work that way, let alone with the Russians. Second thing I want to share with you is this one has to do with protesters. Protesters chanting slogans. Go home, Yankees. Check this out. Go, Yankee, go home. This one is from Greenland. About 1,000 Greenlanders participated in a demonstration on Saturday, this past weekend here, outside the U.S. consulate in the island capital of Nuuk, to protest Donald Trump's statements regarding the annexation of Greenland. And of course, this is where they are saying, actually, they had some other signs that says, and I quote, "You can take over our country." And another one says, and I quote, "You are not welcome here, and stop trying to take over." So very, very interesting. And of course, I'm still waiting to read up the results of the elections that just took place. And the last thing I want to share with you has to do with this incompetent individual, literally incompetent. And just listen what he has to say. This is, of course, the Prime Minister of Britain. Here is what he's saying during the virtual European summit on Ukraine. British PM Starmer pledged on Saturday to accelerate military support for Ukraine and make Russia pay the price for its attacks. How ludicrous. It's ridiculous that the PM of England, and England seems to lose its mind for how they are going about this statement. So here is what he said, and I quote, this is what Starmer said: "We will accelerate our military support of Ukraine, strengthen sanctions on Russia, and ensure it pays the price for its attacks on Ukraine." End of quote. That's a ridiculous statement. I think the British and all Europe knows without the US, there will be no support for Ukraine. End of story. And if it weren't for the US weapons, Ukraine would have been done with a year or two ago. Literally. But here is one of the funniest things I need you to know, and especially for my viewers in England. And please confirm this if you are residing in England. I found out that now there is a rush, of wealthy individuals leaving the UK permanently. Because here is what a lot of people do not know. UK has been known for decades to be a favorite destination for world's wealthiest people. Why? Because they benefit from a tax system. And that tax system grants residents, those wealthy ones, privileges that exempt them from paying taxes on their overseas assets. Now you see why some of the leaders around the world park their money in England. So, but now with this privilege about to be abolished, you know why? Because they're going to start to taxing things. So many, these rich individuals are now packing their bags and moving their capitals to other countries. Their capital to other countries with more flexible tax systems. So who's going to end up holding the end of the stick is the British citizen who has to pay the taxes to, first of all, to maintain the lifestyle of the monarchy there, and of course to send to Ukraine. You wonder why inflation, or you wonder why UK economy is going down the toilet. So, all right, let's get into our topic here, because we got a lot to cover, and I'm going to be addressing, of course, the recent US strikes on Yemen, certain different governorates, and of course there are civilian death, including children. That's begs the question, because dozens have been killed. Those are defenseless Yemenis following the US strikes on Yemen. So, and the questions that we ought to ask now, and I have the questions for you guys. I prepared them, so this way we'll let me get to it here quickly, if you allow me. Right here. The first question is the US acting on behalf of Israel? Yeah. What do you guys think? Yes or no? Because you have to understand one thing, that the Houthis have not attacked or launched anything at Israel, because they hold their end of the bargain by saying, no, we will resume our attacks if Israel does not maintain the ceasefire. So, and this makes me think, and this is again me thinking outside the box. In your opinion, please, yes or no, is the US, in your opinion, acting on behalf of Israel? Second question, what message is the US sending, and to whom? Is this about the Houthis? Just think about it. Third question, how will the Houthis respond? And the fourth question is, what is the role of the incompetent Arab Muslim leaders? Because you don't dismiss that for a second when you know that majority of US military installations in the Middle East or West Asia are in key Arab countries. So let me see your answer in the chat box. Amanda, you say yes. Ramples01, you say yes. Multitamta, you say yes. Bobby, you say yes. Emperor Penguin, you say yes. Patricia, you say Israel is the payment for the US. Famida, about Houthis and Iran, especially. That's the second question. John Smith, you say yes. Hanging G, you say yes. AF Carleon, you say Israel is America. You got that right. And Ramples01, message to Iran. That's regarding my third question. So regarding the first question, you guys are spot on, because that's what it is. And this is where things is going to be moving forward, as now the US airstrikes on Yemen have killed scores of people and injured over 100, to my knowledge, over 110 people. Most of them women and children. They're defenseless rather. So, all right, guys, before I move forward, please, if this is your first time here on this channel, and welcome to our community, please make sure to subscribe. I'm going to put the link for you there. And let's aim for this 1 million subscriber. Why not? Why not? I want to say thank you to Fred Ball. The US that is lobbied has destroyed the Middle East culture on behalf of Israel. The destruction of the culture, I concur to that, because prior to the invasion of Iraq, I wrote a report pushing for not going into Iraq. Why? It's because, first of all, I argued that we guys, we don't understand that the history. When I say we, I'm referring to the incompetent politicians in Washington. They don't understand the history of Iraq in the past. And to those who understand the history of Iraq, if you know one thing about Iraq, Iraq was the center of the Arab civilization. That is where the grammatical rules of the Arabic language started. And if anybody who knows Arabic and speaks Arabic here, you will understand when I mentioned to you one of their top philosopher or thinker or poets, whatever term you want to use, Abu Tayyib al-Mutanabbi. There is a boulevard in Baghdad that is named after him. So this is why we didn't understand. And second argument I made was, we're going to change the Middle East upside down, that we never go back to what it was before. And here we are. So you are absolutely correct, Fred. I'm going to share this with the community right here. Middle East culture on behalf of Israel scenario. One, given the geopolitical shift, the US will decline naturally. And two, the ordinary people will revolt eventually. Spot on, Fred. Couldn't agree more. It's just a matter of time, especially in the Arab states that are supporting the US behind the scenes. That will include this kind of strikes, even though the strikes came from an aircraft carrier. But remember, Qatar has the largest military installation, US military base in the Middle East. Then Saudi Arabia, Jordan, who else does? Egypt. You got the idea. So thank you very much, Fred. Truly appreciate you. Now, I'm gonna share a clip with you. I need you to take a listen here, guys. And let's start with this one here. All right, I just wanted to start with that clip first. Of course, it's heartbreaking, and I'm going to detail everything as I move forward. So, but the first thing I feel that you need to know is at least who are the Houthis. A lot of people do not know. They think that they're these rebels in the mountains, whatever. Well, yeah, they started certain ways, but now it's a movement. I mean, they are in charge in Yemen, in Sana'a. This is what it's all about. It's because they are now willing to do the bidding for the Americans, like what the previous president, the late president Ali Abdullah Saleh did. So the Houthis, known also as Ansarullah, which is, if an Arabic word for the translation goes as a supporters of God. Now, of course, the West is going to describe them as a rebel group. Well, if it is a rebel group, at least it's taking stand. And here is the key, guys. It is putting the Arab and Muslim leaders to shame. Of course, Houthis control most of Yemen, including the capital Sana'a, and some of the western and northern areas close to the Saudi border. This is what the whole issue is all about. And I'm going to detail, because when I wrote the Saudi book, I detailed more about this. So the Houthis emerged in the early 90s. But it rose to prominence in 2014, to be exact. And I was in the country at that time between 2006 to 2011, if I'm not mistaken, back and forth. And this is when the group rebelled against the Yemeni government. But the Yemeni government was supported by the Saudis at that time, with the Saudis doing our own bidding. And because that's what caused now at that time, the government to step down, was crippling the whole dynamics in Yemen. And this is why the Saudis went to a war in Yemen, but they couldn't defeat the Houthis. We were the one providing them intelligence and support. Saudis can fight. You all know this. There's no secret about that one. It was the Saudis and United Arab Emirates. What they both have in common, they all have military installations in their countries. This is why I'm saying the Houthis have put the Arab and Muslim leaders to shame. So of course, it's not a secret. Houthis have been are supported by the Iranians, because that war that took place in Yemen was a proxy war at that time between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And of course, that's how it moved forward. So let me do a little bit of geography, a little bit of history, and I'm gonna dig into my own analysis here about the airstrikes and what it means. Let me share a screen with you just for you guys to see where Yemen is. And again, I don't assume everybody knows where things are, and that's why we are here. We are here to learn, guys. We learn from each other. That's the purpose of this channel, in my opinion. All right, Yemen. Yemen is an arid country situated in West Asia, or they call it Middle East, or even the southwestern corner of the Arabian Peninsula in Western Asia, that is. It is located in the northern and eastern hemisphere of the earth. Yemen is bordered by two main countries, and those countries are Saudi Arabia, which is bounded to its north, and Oman, it's bounded to the east. Yemen has a coastline on the Red Sea to the west, which is the one that they are controlling right now. The Gulf of Aden, another important location. If you can, let me make this fall here, and I'm gonna move the map a little bit. Aden, right here at the bottom, guys. That's where it's a very, very important. Then you have the Arabian Sea and the Guadalquivir Channel bound to the south. Yemen is strategically located at the entrance of Bab el-Mandeb. Bab el-Mandeb is right here. Very, very crucial. This is why in Eritrea and Djibouti, they cross over through Bab el-Mandeb to get to where they want to get there. So Bab el-Mandeb, the strait links the Indian Ocean to the Red Sea via the Gulf of Aden, or Khalij Aden, as it says in Arabic, to those who speak Arabic language. So now, the history of Yemen, which is very important to understand, and I have I don't know, I thought I had a picture to share it with you. No, I don't. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on with what we need to do. So when you think about Yemen, you have to go back, and I'm going to take you back briefly to 1500. Why 1500? Does anybody can tell me who was at that time an empire during that era? Let me see. Oh, Al-Stalokin, you got it. The Ottomans. It's very important for you guys to understand why that is so. So the Ottomans absorbed part of Yemen into their empire, but are expelled in the 1600s. In other words, a century later. Fast forward to 1839. Why 1839? Because Aden came under the British rule. And that's when the Suez Canal, it was the same time, opened in 1869. And that's where it served as a major refueling port. So this is what's important about this. Interesting enough is that the Ottoman Empire returned in 1849, but only returned to the north. That's very important to understand, because you're going to see moving forward the north and the south. Fast forward to 1918. What happened in 1918 for the Ottoman Empire? It dissolved, and North Yemen gained independence of feudal rule and succeeds. So now, at that time, the independence, once it gained its independence, it was ruled by none other than Imam Yahya. He's well known in Yemen. Ask especially the older generation, they will know who Imam Yahya is. So what happened to Imam Yahya? In 1948, he was assassinated. But his son, he had a son by the name Ahmed, fights off the opponents of feudal rules and succeed his father, meaning he took over. Fast forward to 1962. This is the key. Imam Ahmed died and is succeeded by his son. However, the army seized power and set up Yemen as the Yemen Arab Republic. They put a new name to it. So, and that in itself, the moment they did that, that sparked a civil war between the royalist supported by Saudi Arabia and Republicans backed by Egypt. This is what I need you to understand. Why the Arab leaders now are put to shame for what the Houthis is doing, because Houthis are taking stand against this mighty American power, which, by the way, you all know. Look what we did in Afghanistan. Look what we did in Iraq. What makes us think that we're going to do this? We're going to be able to defeat the Houthis in Yemen? I'm telling you from the get-go, Yemen's not going to back down, no matter what they say. So, but what was important is for you to understand that history aspects of it, and this is why you know that Egypt and Saudi Arabia played a role into all this. And this is when South Yemen was formed in 1967. And that's when Britain withdrew from the South after years of pro-independence. So fast forward I'm going to take you back, guys, to 1986. Why 1986? Is because that's when thousands of Yemenis die in power struggle in the South, which effectively drives the first generation of leaders from office. Because before that, it was one particular guy, and he died. That's the former president. Ali Abdullah Saleh became the president of North Yemen. I met him personally when I was in one of my trips to Yemen. I didn't talk to him. There was no need for me to talk to him, but he was like standing literally quite a distance from me in a military installations, was passing by, and we kind of locked eyes to eye, but I wasn't authorized to talk to the guy or say hi or whatever. So he does not need to know who I am, whatever. So, but anyway, I remember seeing him there. Now, why is this important? Is because we used Ali Abdullah Saleh to do our bidding in that part of the world, believe it or not. So, and in 1990, the two Yemens, meaning Yemen North, Yemen South, reunited with Ali Abdullah Saleh as president. You know, but also that was during the same time. What happened in the 1990s? As the beginning of 1990, what happened? You guys should know. In 1990, major event in the world, of course. And it's not pertaining to Yemen in itself, but 1990. Saddam, no, good try. Iraq, no. Has nothing to do with the Middle East. Has nothing to do with the Middle East. 1991, the beginning of something major. Iraq, Gulf War. No. 1990. USSR. Carl Leon, you got it. USSR, the beginning of the demise of the Soviet Union. Why is this important? Because Yemen was a client of the Soviet Union. That is why it's important to understand that. So in 1994, President Saleh declared the emergency, state of emergency, and dismissed the vice president at that time. So, and that's what set the beginning for even the tensions between Yemen and Eritrea over some sort of Hanish Island, if you know, which is on the Red Sea, and that's the International Court or arbitration awarded the island, the bulk of the archipelago, to Yemen in 1998. That is one. And of course, I take you back to 2000. That's when AQ attacked the U.S. naval USS Cole, and you know the history from that one. So now the key important is in 2004, which is where hundreds died as troops battled the Shia insurgency led by Hussein al-Houthi in the north, because the if I bring back, and I'm going to bring back the map just to show you the location. A lot of people do not even know where this location is. It's called Saada. Saada is considered, right here, guys, Saada. That is the headquarters of the Houthis. That's where they are. And if you look at Saada, which is closer to the border with Saudi Arabia, and this Al-Rub' al-Desert, and I do have, let me show you a picture from the Rub' al-Khali because I've been there. It's right here, this area that has nothing but just, there's nothing there. It's just a desert. So all this comes close. Yes, I was sitting on a cliff. I guess it wasn't my time yet. So, but that's just what it is. So, and all this is nothing but a desert. Saada, that's what I need you to understand, because that's where the headquarters of Yemen is. The Houthis, I'm sorry. The Houthis, that is. So. And this is where the Houthis demand reform and so forth, and led to the 2011. And one thing led to the next, and the AQ and so forth. So we intervened in Yemen, of course, with the airstrikes. We started in 2015, and this is where you have the Saudis came in with the United Arab Emirates. And I'm going to put a link for you guys if you want. Just read up on it later on. And I'm going to get into my analysis on this one right there. But it's very, very important to understand the history, because without it, things will not make sense to you. So now you think, if I had a chance to read an article by Mariam Ali, very interesting. There are some key points there, and it makes sense as to, for example, why the U.S. attacks targeted Saada. Once again, is the location we talked about. It's very, very important. I think I have a map of where the targeted U.S., and I'm going to share it with you here as a picture, not as a, let me get to it. Right here, guys. Those are the targeted locations. And one of them is right here at the north. That's for Saada. And this is where, in Saada, there were about 12 raids were reported in Saada, which means strikes. And that was on power stations in the town of Dahyan, which caused a blackout in there. Then you have Ib. Ib is a governorate, Mudiriyat Ib. The deadliest attack occurred in the district of Kahza, in the Ib governorates, where U.S. warplanes targeted 2 residential buildings, killing at least 15 people, according to the Houthis. So now, if you are to do this, to conduct the airstrike, why would you target the civilians? Because what makes now what the U.S. is doing versus what Israel has done against the civilians. So to me, it's like civilians are off limit. Children are off limits. Women are off limits. Elderly are off limits. So if you are to target military installations. And at the same time, if you are to do this against someone your size. It becomes the question that why are we doing this one here? So, and that's what we're gonna get into, as to really why is the U.S. doing all this, targeting women and children and so forth. Why is this? And that becomes the question that we asked earlier, is because, first of all, the strikes began this weekend on Saturday, then into early days of Sunday. And when Donald Trump orders this series of strike, here is somebody who said, oh, I want to pull the U.S. out of conflict. Now you just dug the U.S. into a hole, because here is the thing. Houthis is not going to back down, which means the U.S. will have to keep bombing. For what? Because this is not about just we want to have the free navigation in the Red Sea. So, because the Houthis have threatened to resume strike, but they have not resumed the strike. So if the U.S. will say, well, because they acted, they did not. So let's just be fair and clear about this, because the Houthis threatened if they will resume strikes if and against Israeli link ships in the Red Sea because of the ongoing blockade in Gaza. What the Houthis have told the Israelis is lifted the blockade on the Gaza and we won't attack anything. And they gave them 4 days. So, and the reason why the Houthis doing, which is shame on Muslim and Arab leaders, because as you know, is the month of Ramadan. You know, some people in Gaza have nothing to eat because Israeli put a blockade. You're talking about people fasting, and they might not have anything to eat when the sun goes down, while the Arab leaders, the corrupted one, are having a table full of food and so forth. And this is what I'm saying. Literally, the Houthis put the Arab leaders, Muslim leaders, into shame. So the US conducted over 40 raids. That's just what was reported. So, and I have some images here that I'm going to share with you. I give credit, by the way, of this to US Navy. That's just their picture. Yeah. So the key question that begs the question, the key question as to why the US is attacking Yemen all of a sudden. So, yeah, well, you have to really think big. And the first answer that comes to mind, and this one has nothing to do with the region. This might shock you, surprise you. It has to do with ensuring some about between 40 to 60 billion dollars a year from the military defense industry. So, which means what? They have to generate between 40 and 60 billion dollars a year. And that's going to be through the conflict, like what you are seeing now, we are embarking on. Whoever thought that the US, the majority were thinking in terms of the idea of the dust will settle on Ukraine and we move far east, because far east is coming. You all know what happened now in Philippines with the illegal detention of the former president Rodrigo Duterte. Now there are those who are saying what he did, killing drug leaders. Well, wait a minute, wouldn't you want to clean your country from drug dealers? I mean, wouldn't you want to have drugs all over your place? Even I got a word now that drugs are back in the streets in the Philippines. But the point is that what you're seeing going in the Philippines is the prelude as to what's coming later on, because we're going to be aiming our sights to that location after we're done with Ukraine. But all of a sudden now, these attacks on the Houthis came, the strikes, and is going to change the equation. So. Of course, if you go back to the history of what the Houthis have done, they have attacked ships because they follow through with what they said. Since November 2023, the Houthis launched several attacks on ships around the off the Yemeni coast. So, and they didn't care whether American or not. So, as a matter of fact, they did attack some U.S. military because they are not. Here is one thing I need you to know about the Houthis, as one who spent time in Yemen. They have no fear of death. Yeah. So when the U.S. is saying, "Oh, this is nothing but a beginning of a large-scale offensive across Yemen," they don't care. They're still gonna fight. They're still gonna attack the ships. They have their ways, and if we think we're gonna just bomb some location, those weapons, whatever they have, they are deep in some deep mountains over there. It's a rugged terrain. Yeah. And this is where, when we think that we're going to have to just flex our muscle with this show of, and all the pictures I'm going to show you here, guys, those belong to the US Navy, so I'll give credit for that. When we think we're going to show this mighty, the Hornet here, it's the yeah, that's Hornet. And this picture goes to chief photographer for the Navy. You have to give credit, guys, because that's the right thing to do. His name is Greg McCresh. So This is the Harry Truman. That's the one that launched the. But when you look at the locations of where we are targeting, and those are the missiles or bomb that being dropped, you're dropping it on a very the poorest country in the world, in the Arab or the Muslim world, that is. And yet the Arab and Muslim leaders are just watching from the side. So I know the strikes came from the aircraft carrier, and for a reason. It's because no Arab country will want to be seen as allowing the missiles to be launched from its territory. But don't trust that. The Arab leaders will do more to help the Americans that you can even imagine. Shame on them for that. So it becomes the idea of why the US is saying, well, we have to free the navigation on the Red Sea. So why the Red Sea is important to begin with? Well, because the Red Sea is very strategic. It's a very vital maritime trade route. You're looking at about between 10 to 12% of global trade that passing through those waters. So once you look back into, right here, I have a map here, and we give credit here to the Port Economics Management. That's their picture here. When you think about the Red Sea, so where the red line is, guys, that goes through Yemen. If that is blocked, just look where, if you have a shipment from Netherlands to Singapore, if a Red Sea is closed, then they have to go all the way around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa and cross through the Indian Ocean from the bottom all the way to Singapore. That's just an example. Just to give you an example. This is why the maritime of a Red Sea is very, 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 very crucial. Think about it also. When you remember the map I showed you earlier for the Bab el-Mandeb. Let me bring it back up for you to understand. Bab el-Mandeb, right here, guys. This one. Let me make this big for you to see. Bab el-Mandeb. When you think about the Suez Canal and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, those are also considered like a choke points for what? For energy shipments from the Gulf or from Middle East, that is. Because that one, it can facilitate up to 12% of the total, the total seaborne traded oil, and about 8% of the world liquefied natural gas, or LNG. So, because if you go back and check the record, and there is, and I'm going to provide you the link, guys, for this. In 2023, Bab el-Mandeb Strait alone handled about 8.8 million barrels per day of oil and 4.1 billion cubic feet per day of LNG, or liquefied natural gas, making it essential for global energy security and economic stability. So the alternative now is you have to go through the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa to get to where you need to get. So, but the key important in all this to understand of why is the US doing this, sort of the objective, if I may share this with you. And once again, I had a chance to read an article by Mohammed Al-Minshawi. So very interesting, very, very spot on as far as the content of it. So, and this falls back to what, let me stop this one here, guys. Falls back to what the US said. What did the Secretary of Defense said? Higgs said. He said, peace through strength, which means we're going to have to flex our military muscles and do whatever to maintain peace, which is the wrong approach. Because if you do apply this against somebody your size, let's say China, you're going to find out. And I don't think so. Actually, let me ask you the question. Do you guys think the US will do the same what it's doing now in South China Sea? Yes or no? Let me just, because I like to engage you into the conversation. In your opinion, do you think what the US just did against the Houthis will be able to replicate that in South China Sea? Truth Seeker is saying no. Seaborn Ninja is saying no. Multi-Tom, you say no. Kevin, you say hell no. That's correct. Hang G, you say go around South Africa. Okay, that's not. Army with Harmony, no. AFG Don Carleon, you say no. Amanda, no way. World Majority, no. Hairless Ape, no. Hanging G, no. You guys got it, because that is the point. They won't be able to, because we might not be able to fight someone our size. And as a matter of fact, so far the U.S. is not, if the U.S. couldn't couldn't win the conflict, I won't even call it a war, a conflict in Afghanistan or Iraq, what makes us think we're going to win a conflict in South China Sea against a formidable military like China? What makes us think this? What makes us think we're going to defeat the Russians or even Iran? What makes us think we're going to defeat this? And this is where that understanding of why the US will go about this approach of the peace through strength. Because you have both. You have the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State repeating this narrative. So now, there will be the objective of what are objective that the US wants to achieve into all this. Well, one of them, for example, it will be to destroy or dismantle the capabilities of the Houthis when it comes down to missile launchers. Yeah, wishful thinking. You can destroy one or two, but we should not be thinking that the Houthis are not smart enough to diversify the locations as to where their missile launchers are. So, let alone if they're gonna target, if the US is gonna target only the locations in the mountains, they will be on the other locations underground. Because here is one thing that the Houthis have to their advantage, especially with these missile launchers, is that if they are from the mountainous areas, they will be able to reach their targets in no time. That is why the advantage they have, because they're high altitude. So the other thing, if the Houthis will be able to launch their attack from Bab el-Mandeb, I removed the, I don't know why I forgot. I forgot that I removed the map. All right, there. Let me put it back up and I'll refer to it if I need, when I need to show you something. Yeah, like in this case, from Bab el-Mandeb through the Strait of Mandeb Strait and the Red Sea. This is where the ships are crossing through, like this one here. And that's what the Houthis, because remember, they do have missiles that can reach that destination. So, and this is where the idea of, that's one of the objectives. The US wants to destroy that one. Second one, the US said that we have targeted the Houthis leadership, which is not true. It's of course, Mr. Trump's going to have to inflate that we decapitated. No. You have not decapitated the leadership. They are smart enough to know that they're not going to be sitting all in one locations, because they are dispersed all over. Yes, they all fall under one particular individual. His name is Al-Houthi, but they are not going to be in one location. So, and the third one, which is the key here, and that leads us to the key question as to why the US is doing all this. The message is to Iran. Why? As you know, Iran supports Houthis. But do you think Iran's going to stop from supporting Houthis? No, there is no way. There is no way. And if the US think that they're going to try to scare Iran by conducting this, they are mistaken. Those individuals, both those entities, both Iran and the Houthis, will not get intimidated by this. No. And this is what the Trump administration wanted to use more firepower than its previous administration. So, you know, and that's where, again, that concept of peace through strength comes in, but it's not going to work against this. So here is what the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, said, and I quote, "The era of peace through strength is back." He added, "This campaign is about," meaning the strikes against the Houthis, "this campaign is about freedom of navigation and restoring deterrence. The moment the Houthis say, we are going to stop shooting at your ships, we," meaning the Americans here, "we are going to stop shooting at your drones. This campaign will end, but until then, it will be relentless." End of quote. What's important about this statement, guys, is the keyword of the freedom of navigation. And you can bet on it. The way I see it over the horizon is we're going to argue and use this argument when we start sending advanced ships, warships, that is, into the South China Sea and say, oh, no, we're just going. We're already doing this. I'm talking about the next level, the next phase. That ships that acquire some advanced missiles within their capability or their components. So what Higgs said, the Secretary of Defense, already trying to psychologically pave the world into getting used to, is the idea of, like he said, and I'm going to say it again, we are going to stop. This campaign is about freedom of navigation and restoring deterrence. Yeah, just read between the line, guys. Just read between the line. And I am concerned as to what I see over the horizon regarding South China Sea. That is one of the reasons why I intend to go back to that part of the world for my second Asia trip in the summer. And again, I will need to know as far as the locations, and I'm going to be aware of what I need to be looking for. So even the Secretary of State, Rubio, he also said that here is what I couldn't disagree more with what he's saying here regarding the attacks on the Houthis. Here is what he said. He said, and I quote, "Over the past 18 months, the Houthis have struck or attacked U.S. military naval vessels 174 times and attacked commercial shipping vessels 145 times. So they are a group of pirate gangs with precision-guided anti-ship weapons in one of the most important shipping lanes in the world. This cannot continue." End of quote. Well, first of all, Mr. Secretary, you need to look at how many attacks the Houthis did against our naval vessels versus how many they did against commercial. 174 against 145. And it tells you they don't fear the American military hardware. Second thing is that the group is not a pirate. Houthis are not a pirate. They are well-armed movement. And they are, matter of fact, in charge of Yemen right now. Because if they weren't, why haven't we be able to lift the blockade they imposed for so many months? And they're only asking one thing, and that thing they're asking is for Israel to lift its blockade on Gaza regarding the food and so forth, assistance. Because here's the thing. If you go back a few months ago, the Houthis said, if a ceasefire is reached, we will stop attacks. And they did. So I don't think so the Houthis lie. I don't think so. And if they say something, they follow through. Unlike the Arab and Muslim leaders, the incompetent one, they can even take stand, which is really, really shameful. I'm sure the Muslim and the Arab population, and I'm not blaming the Arab population, guys, we make a distinction here, is the leaders. But the Arab population understand this reality. Because the leaders, it's like what we've seen in Syria recently. Remember the post I did for you guys regarding the Syria giving a monthly stipend to the military and government employees, which is basically security. So Somebody put a comment saying, well, Dr. O, at least they did something nice. And I said, yeah, I agree. But come on, let's take a step back and think about it. If they were to do this, why they didn't give the stipend to the entire society? Instead, they focused on the military and security, the apparatus that can control the population. That is it's a common practice in the Muslim world. The leaders, that's how they control. Just look at their spending on the military and security apparatus. So, and I'm very familiar with, during my days in Washington, I was aware of some Arab countries. Some of them spend up to $20 billion. Yeah, $20 billion on internal security. So that's just to highlight to you how this is going to go. So now, the idea of why these attacks on the Houthis, it's meant to be a message to Iran. So more so than it is meant to be to stop the attacks on the commercial vessels in the Red Sea. So it's a reality that Western media will not want to disclose openly. So that's what it is. Yeah. And this is where, the Houthis, here is the truth again, that they are not reporting openly, is that the Houthis did stop their attacks once a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel was reached. Simple as that. This is why Israel lifted the lid on the secrecy of the meeting between the United States and Hamas, because they get nervous that we might strike a deal with Hamas at the expense of Israel. So, yeah. However, the Houthis have threatened to resume their operations or attacks, that is, if this ceasefire doesn't hold. And this is exactly what we are witnessing right now with Israel doing, let alone the blockade on allowing food. And where is the Arab world? Where is the Muslim world? Where is this brotherhood? Where is this brotherhood of the Muslim Ummah? Where is this the benefits of the month of Ramadan, when you're supposed to help and feed the hungry? Where is all that? It shows you hypocrisy of the highest order when it comes down to the incompetent Arab and Muslim leaders. No exceptions. Of course, you put Iran and the Houthis on one category, and the rest, Qatar. I've been aware of it, but just to your surprise, with Qatar having the largest U.S. military installations in the region. This is Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt. They care less for the Palestinians. And I've always said this. They use the Palestinian conflict to divert the attention from the failure of their, meaning Arab leaders, their countries' economic policies, education, healthcare, infrastructure, income inequalities, and so forth. That's how they will allow, for example, peaceful demonstrations in support of the Palestinian cause, when in reality they care less. Because when it matters, they are not showing up, because now it matters for these Arab leaders to show leadership. What are they doing? Only one entity is the Houthis that's taking stand. So now there is another aspect you need to consider, and the other aspect has to do with the message that the US is sending to Iran, which means it wanted to demonstrate that the United States will not hesitate in deploying its naval assets and force and so forth. So, but at the same time, what makes us think that this is going to deter Iran or scare Iran or intimidate Iran? We will be mistaken if we think that. So, because this is probably, if I am to guess, once again, I am just thinking outside the box, putting my geopolitical analyst hat on, I would say that probably Mr. Trump is thinking in terms of setting the conditions of pre-negotiations so he can have leverage. But on the other hand, what makes him think that the Iranians will agree to have negotiations to begin with? It's, to me, it's a flawed into thinking in these terms. No, I don't think so, because Iranians are not going to get intimidated by that. Second thing, Iranians have some advanced missile systems, and I will not rule out the option that the Russians will provide some hardware to Iran. So I have my doubts. I really have my doubt that these attacks will, it just, Trump wants to, because here is the thing. If the Houthis, which, by the way, they already attacked the USS Harry Truman. Yeah, let me show you the aircraft carrier, that is right there. They already attacked it, and I have a link. Of course, it's not going to be in the Western media. If you are to, it says right there, الحوثيون يعلنون استهداف حاملات طائرات أمريكية, which translate to the Houthis announce the targeting of a U.S. aircraft carrier. So I listened in Arabic to the speech by Yahya Sari'. He's the Yemeni military spokesperson. It's this person right here. I kept a picture right here. This one. So the Houthis is not going to be intimidated. They are already and we shall see how this is going to be developed. Because here's the thing. Trump will find out that sometimes the intimidation doesn't work. You might do intimidation with the likes of Jordan, the likes of Egypt, as far as threatening them with this and that. Even Egypt, it has a good military, but it's useless, because now when it's needed the most, what they can do? Nothing. Like they always say, you show leadership when it matters. This moment right now, it matters. But the Arab leaders are the thing is that one thing I need you to get out of this, guys, before I'll close out here and answer some of your questions. The Houthis will fight. They will keep fighting forever. That's like the other group, the T group in Afghanistan. You know what that is. And this is why, and I couldn't agree more. There is an international affairs expert at Stimson Institute in Washington. Her name is Barbara Slavin. I couldn't agree more with her. I read some of her white papers, and I read from different sources, guys, because I wanted to provide you a well-versed assessments of the geopolitical aspects here. And when she argued, and I quote, if Trump thinks this makes the United States look strong, he should try to be tougher on the Russian President Vladimir Putin, end of quote. Oh, otherwise the attacks are nothing more than an attempt to divert attention away from Russia, end of quote. She's spot on. She's spot on. And I couldn't agree more with her on this aspect. That's why I am convinced that the Houthis is going to keep fighting. This is not going to intimidate them. They've been on this before. Where the surprise is that this time it was only the United States by itself. Because the previous attacks, what are the other two countries that have joined the US in strikes? Can you guys type in a chat box if you happen to know what that is? Oh, first of all, I want to say thank you to Kevin Baptiste. I can't thank you enough, man. I just saw this one here. Sorry, earlier I didn't see it. Kevin, Dr. O, given the stupid attacks on Yemen by the US, how close do you think we are to the US directly attacking Iran? I'm going to go ahead and answer questions, and I'll get back to your answer, guys, about this one. No, we are not close. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, it's a calculated risk. And Mr. Trump is weighing the options. And he knows the hardliners in Washington is going to push him into that. Because remember, The overall objective of all this, beside the message to Iran, is to ensure between 40 and 60 billion dollar a year of revenues for the military industrial complex. That is what's the objective of. Now, this one as being closer to no. Yeah, we could get, but the US will have to think twice before launching its attack. And if they do, then Iran will be within its own right to defend itself, because that's under international law. Even the Houthis now have the right to respond, and that's why they went ahead and attacked the USS Harry Truman. So once again, Kevin Baptist, thank you so much for your both super stickers. I'm very, very grateful to you for your support. All right, let me go back to your answer, guys, because I want to see your answer to my earlier question. The answer is no, no, no. Vad Iban, you say no. Taiwan, no. I'm Lohani, you say no. Marco W. Hello, Taiwan. I know what you mean. Patricia, I say no way. Amjad Ali, try and see. That is correct. Yeah. And I'm scrolling all the way down to see the recent answer to. Yeah, I just don't see. I just don't see how the US. Oh, UK and France. Truth Seeker, you got only one right. There is another one. Dave H. France and Britain. No, you got only one right. Oh, Paul got it. Paul, you got it. It was the Israel and UK. I know someone else answered UK. Yes, Hang in G, you got it right. No, you got it right. So it was to my question earlier, who joined the US back then? Where the difference now is that it's only the US by itself. Because is the UK in possession to do so? Is Israel in possession to do so? I don't think so. If you only know the mess that exists inside Israel, especially now with the head of the Shabak, you know what a Shabak is their security service, internal security service inside. And the guy who threatened now to expose Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi Netanyahu, which, by the way, there are some analysts who are arguing that we might be looking at an internal civil war inside Israel. You know what I'm looking at right now? I am looking at one specific event. It's going to happen next month. Next month, Bibi is going to be going to Hungary. Because there is an arrest warrant. Makes me just wonder if he will be arrested by the ICC or not. But again, I know better, right? So anyway, let me wrap this up, guys, and I'm going to take a look at, again, if there are any questions there. So here's the thing. What has happened now with the strikes is that even the Secretary of Defense, he does not rule out the possibility of the US becoming embroiled into endless wars in the region. That is why I did the video for you guys. For those who have not seen it yet, let me get you the link. I did the analysis for you about the possibility of Donald Trump going into a war against Iran. So I'm going to put it in the chat box for you guys, for those who have not seen it yet, and you can check it out later on. And that is one of the possibilities, that now we are going to be going for more conflicts. Even though Mr. Trump's saying, well, I'm going to not have we're going to pull the US out of conflicts and all that. No. What you hear presidents saying versus what he does is the same. There is no difference between both parties. Two faces of the same coin. You guys need to grasp this, especially for my American viewers. When will Americans wake up? When will Americans wake up? Because you have to understand who controls the process. If you don't understand that, then whatever I say will not make sense to you at all. Whatever you see will not make sense to you at all. So because both Republicans and Democrats, they all have the records on when it comes down to conflicts in different parts of the world. So anyway, this is what I see moving forward into all these tensions. So suffice it to say, and I conclude with this, suffice it to say that the attacks on the Houthis will not be intimidated, and they are not gonna lay down their weapons. They already, as I mentioned, they already attacked USS Harry Truman, from where it launched. So do they have any other sophisticated weapons that the world hasn't seen yet? I don't know. I can't answer that one. But I do know that they will be in a position to acquire something like that from a third party. This is what I see coming forward. And as to the US, is going to find itself embroiled into more conflict, which is exactly what the military industrial complex wants. Remember that number, between 40 and 60 billion dollars a year. A year. How are you going to generate that if you don't have conflict? Why do you think the conflict in Ukraine been dragged all along? So I'll say the same about now what's going on against the Houthis, maybe Iran down the road, but Iran is going to be a different ball game. Iran is not Iraq. Iran is not Afghanistan. Iraq is not Syria. And given, by the way, in Syria, what's going on right now, you're looking at a proxy war in Syria between Israel and Turkey. All of a sudden, you have now the members of the terrorist groups now becoming in power and being received in Brussels through the European Parliament. The foreign minister of the interim government in Syria is now going to Brussels. They're going to roll out the red carpet. You all know what it means. So, yeah. But on the other hand, how can we even say for the Turkey and Israel are kind of proxy war when they are also thinking in terms of same objective? Makes you just wonder why the Joulani, you all remember Joulani, right? Why he never attacked Israel? Your answer is right there. So anyway, guys, we are, wow, I didn't realize I went over time here. I usually do 1 hour here, but let me answer. Army with Harmony, thank you so much for your super sticker. Will U.S. Union hold? Not in a long term. Not in a long term. Because at some point, the average citizen is going to have to start now decide between either buying medicine, if he or she happens to be sick or whatever, or buying dinner. They won't be able to do both. And that's when you realize where our tax dollars are being spent on. And that's what, again, ties me to my earlier statement about the military industrial complex was to ensure that there is between 40 and 60 billion dollars a year coming out of through conflicts. This is why we're going to be seeing this through. Once again, thank you so much. And yes, appreciate the congrats from you regarding the 100,000K. So it's all of us for our community, guys. So I can't thank you enough for your support. Let me share the screen for if you want to support Asia trip. So far, guys, just to let you know where things are. I think he moved, but I didn't update it yesterday, but he moved up by about literally about $30 or so, give or take. I would say we are at about $900 now from our in our fund campaign for the Asia trip. So I will greatly appreciate if you choose to support my second trip to Asia here. And again, I am not going for tourism. I am going to report on key information and usually there's nothing better than being on the ground. I am willing to go through the hassle of travel and all that stuff. It's part of it. I enjoy doing this for our community. So if you feel like supporting the channel, I will be very, very grateful. And also, please hit the like button and share the video or channel with others. So why not? Let's aim for that 1 million subscribers down the road. So I'm very, very grateful to you. I look forward to seeing you guys. Hope you guys learned something with me here, and much appreciate your civility in the conversation on the chat room. I'm very, very thankful to you for keeping it civil. Thank you for that. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.